All right, Melissa, I feel like it would be wrong of me not to make some drunk joke. Like, have you been drinking your own ice cream today?
Haven't.
Okay. Well,
I'm
maybe by the end of this, I feel like that would be on brand, and maybe we need to create a podcast where we try your product. So,
ready to taste test next time.
all right. So you're a new franchisor, and this is Meet the Franchisor, and I want to guide through both how do you even get into franchising, and then we'll get into what is the YUI now. But how does this even start? And I looked at your background. I can look at your LinkedIn, and the story doesn't align. I can see the marketing side, but tell me, how do you even get to the starting line here?
Yeah. Well, I started Tipsy Scoop in 2014. Ice cream making runs in my family from back in the 1800s. My family brought over gelato from Italy to Scotland when gelato was a very novel concept at the time. So we skipped a few generations of ice cream making, but brought it back in 2014 and with the boozy twist. So I had been working in marketing and PR and events for wine and spirits, and loved the idea of combining the two, especially because unlike baking with alcohol where the alcohol is burnt off, making ice cream with alcohol, the end product holds a bit of an alcohol content. So that's kind of how Tipsy Scoop was born.
So now you get to the level. So 2014, you're starting this, and you get to the idea of franchising. Was franchising always a part of it, or did franchising fall into it?
No, so even brick and mortar wasn't even a part of it. So I started with just catering and events. I had several ice cream push carts. I pushed all over the city. And I think in 2015, 2016, we kept having videos of Tipsy Scoop production or alcohol being poured into the ice cream machine and the ice cream coming out go viral on Facebook. So lots of people started knowing about us. At that point, we were producing out of a kitchen incubator space in East Harlem. And people were showing up at our warehouse there looking for the ice cream shop that they saw online. And there was no ice cream shop. So we sold them pints right there. They kind of liked the novelty of it being this weird underground thing. But that really didn't stop. And I didn't even have the staff to support it. So that's why I decided to open the first location. Brick and mortar was very scary before then, but there was the demand for it. So we decided to go ahead with a small shop on 26th Street. And ever since we opened that shop, we have had franchise inquiries from the beginning. So again, it was kind of listening to our customers and kind of hearing what they wanted next. And they wanted to be franchisees.
So as a prospective franchisee, I'll put that cap on right now. I would imagine one of the hurdles that, especially opening up brick and mortar, is getting the liquor license to be able to serve this. Did that end up being a hurdle, or was it not as complex as it sounds like it could potentially be?
So a liquor infused food is extremely complex. But in several states, especially the states we are starting to franchise in first, we are considered a non-beverage. So you don't need a liquor license to get set up. You just need to card end consumers. Where that gets complicated is in some states where you do need a liquor license. But it's kind of like the cannabis industry in that like things are changing really quickly. And a lot of states are just developing laws around like liquor infused confectionery and ice cream. So definitely have the first mover advantage. And then with that comes the challenge of, in some states, this isn't as clearly defined.
Were the sales to your expectations when you went brick and mortar?
So it was crazy. We, again, had a 300 square foot shop opened around the corner from where I lived at the time, just because I thought I was going to work there every day, which luckily I didn't because I'm not that good at running a shop. But it was crazy. We had a line out the door the entire day. Around the corner, our neighbors hated us in the beginning. Now they love us, but we brought a lot of attention to kind of this side street in Manhattan that was nothing.
So now, after having that success, when did that one open, by the way?
That opened in 2017.
Okay. So the success of that one, at any point, are you saying I want to invest more corporately, or is it always like once the franchise inquiries started coming in, was it, I want to commit to franchising?
Yeah, I mean, we really kind of put off the franchise requests until, 2022, last year, when we started this process of franchising. We opened in 2019 another location in Williamsburg in Brooklyn, which is a little bit larger of a location. We also do classes and store buyouts there. And then in 2021 opened in Long Island. So we were opening our own locations. I think I kind of, saw once we opened Long Island, kind of the challenge of, as a company, opening multiple locations on our own, that one just being an hour away. And we had, so many passionate and persistent franchise inquiries that didn't stop. So it kind of became different than what we had associated franchising with from the beginning, which wasn't exactly, where we wanted to go initially.
What's your family's take now that you've got back into the ice cream making business? Probably nowhere near what it originated as, but
So again, we skipped a few generations. So my parents are lawyers, which is great for liquor infused ice cream because there would have been a lot of legal fees otherwise. Going back and forth, especially in the beginning, with some of these states and federally how they kind of viewed it. But like any small business, it definitely becomes a family business quickly, and it's really cool with the franchises that we have signed up so far. It's a lot of a brother and a sister, a husband and wife, a mother and daughter. So it's kind of cool in that way.
from a customer standpoint in these new markets, I mean, obviously to the adult over 21, it fits very easily. Are you continuing to innovate to open up the product to families as well?
Yeah, so we always have at least 4 non-alcoholic flavors in our stores. Again, varies kind of by location, which we've seen with our company-owned stores in Manhattan. We could have no non-alcoholic flavors, we'd be fine. In Long Island, you got to have, the flavors for kids because it's a lot of families that live there. So it's kind of a missed opportunity to not have it. You're an ice cream shop, you have all the equipment set up. So we are requiring our franchisees to have some non alcoholic ice cream, for families to be able to enjoy.
I mean, I think it adds a veto vote and it actually adds an occasion that might
Yeah.
not typically hit a family, So I think that's the cool part about it, to find a point of differentiation in an ice cream space. And there's been waves of it,
Yeah.
but now you're truly finding one. Like most of the time, the innovation comes simply around flavor, and here you can play with occasion and flavor and alcohol, and I think that's a neat thing to be playing with.
Yeah, yeah, it's funny you said that about occasion. Like, something that has come up on a lot of these franchise calls is about like how often do people eat Tipsy Scoop? Like, do you have regular customers? And we do have regular customers, but it's boozy ice cream is not something that you need on every block. So like that's not our franchise model. We're not opening multiple Tipsy Scoops in one town. You have this specialty niche product that is going to be the place where your customers come to celebrate somebody's graduation, to buy a cake for somebody's birthday, to show their friend who's visiting. So there's definitely multiple occasions that people come, but it's such an occasion based experience product, that finding people who understand that is really important.
What's your dream now? I mean, now that you've tasted franchising, you obviously have some folks that have signed up. You have good attention. You have great branding, great product, which all fits into the previous life that you had in marketing and PR. Like, what's the dream? Where does this go?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many places it could go. I think even just with some of the brand extensions we've done, with Tipsy Scoop, including partnered with Buxom last year and made Tipsy Scoop lip glosses that kind of tasted and smelled like our different flavors. So, just continuing to be the first mover in the boozy ice cream category was so important to us, and ultimately why we decided to franchise as well. We were getting all these wholesale inquiries about people wanting to try to open their own boozy ice cream shop where they sold Tipsy Scoop. We're like, oh, well, you'll be more successful if it's called Tipsy Scoop. So just kind of continuing to grow the brand, I think, will be really important to, the success of all the franchisees and our company owned stores as well.
Did you set out growth goals for this year, next year from a
Yeah.
franchise sales standpoint?
Yeah, so we are definitely capping our franchises at 10 franchises to sign on this year. Definitely want to be able to have the team in place to make all of these super successful and continue to make them successful, and then kind of grow from there. But we're definitely, targeting big metropolitan areas where, we have had interest and have contacts, from the beginning. So I think the ones that we have, Portland, Phoenix, Washington, D.C., are great places to start.
Will conversions, not conversions, add-ons be an opportunity? Could a brewery say we know that we're limited on what our menu can do with this demographic, that we want to add this either outside facing or as a part of their model? Would you ever consider something like that?
Yeah, we do a lot of either we could call it licensing or collaborations like that, that are a lot of fun, and definitely something that we will be training our franchisees to be able to offer locally as well to, local bars and restaurants. I think that's so important because it's not competitive. It spreads brand awareness, and it's a different, product ultimately that you're selling to a bar or restaurant, whether you made them a custom flavor or some sort of boozy ice cream novelty. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, from my standpoint, a few things that I see that I think are valuable. One is, again, you're adding innovation to a category that doesn't have a ton of innovation. So naturally, there's going to be an excitement about franchising.
Yeah.
What you just said about we're going to try capping it at 10 in this first year, I think is super smart, because if you say yes to the wrong person, that ends up derailing things, because most of your attention is going to go to that franchisee who had misaligned expectations. And typically misaligned expectation comes from how much money can I potentially make. And so if you look at those folks that then slide down and say, okay, I'm going to take the cheaper pathway on real estate, and
Yeah.
now I'm be heard on foot traffic. I'm not going to do the marketing. I don't want to push out the Instagram, which all the fundamental things that you've nailed in New York. I think those are going to be critical when they break down to the franchisee standpoint. From where I stand as a buyer, I can see it here. Like you have a warm personality in the way that we're having a conversation, and most of the time a website doesn't always portray that same story. And so for last year, we started taking every franchisee that we work with and asking them questions about their buyer journey. And so two things that I think are deeply valuable back to how you're going to tell this story. One is the thing that pushes them over the edge is culture and business opportunity. That's it. So culturally, like, what am I buying into and who are the people behind it? And you can see that you have a team behind you, but your story, I think, is powerful. And the fact that you had to trek through not just figuring out how do I set up a brick and mortar, but also trek through COVID and get to the other side of this and say, here's the place that we have in the marketplace, is deeply valuable. And I would encourage you to lift that up. And the second thing is, beyond the beauty of the product, right now your why you why now says franchising, and franchising isn't why you why now. And so if you think, like, the second I land on your site, why would anybody want to buy this, and why would someone want to buy it now? You
Mm-hmm.
can lift up this story a little bit more to have tremendous impact to those that are going to think about this. Last thing that I'll say, and this is from a marketing standpoint, if I were running the development, I would also map out Fat Tuesday as a brand. And Fat Tuesday position themselves in high trafficked areas where the novelty is this giant cup and obviously Mardi Gras flavored alcoholic drinks. But what they did is they did the work already. They did the real estate selection. They know where the high traffics are, and that equals the volumes that they do. And so if you take some of those insights, a brand like that, and say, we're also going to go into other markets, but let's go in the areas of a brand that's been there, done that, in a category that has some similarities to the occasion. There might be an opportunity to take someone else's money and research and use that as an advantage for you as well.
Yeah, that's interesting that you said that, because a few of the franchisees that we've talked to have been like, there's a Fat Tuesday here. Is that competitive? I don't think it's necessarily competitive, because it's, just kind of a cold drink on a hot day. But that's interesting, because I think it would be good to use the research they've already done.
Yeah, I don't think by any means. I live in Atlanta now, and Fat Tuesday opened up one right around the corner from Atlanta Braves Stadium. Now, part of the rule that they need is you need to have you need to be able to carry alcohol on the street with their product. So that's part of their real estate selection. They wouldn't do that. They wouldn't open up a location where you couldn't leave the grounds and carry it off. Yeah. But you take that insight, okay, they know what the foot traffic is. They know what the foot traffic is during a Braves game. Let's look at a facility like that because it fits the demographics. That they've done some of that crossover. They're definitely not a competitive brand by any means. And again, like, I think you fulfill a different type of occasion. That yes, it's when I want to have an alcoholic beverage. Yes, it's when I want to have alcoholic beverage and go out with my children. Yes, it's when I want to have ice cream. And because you've figured out these different pathways, the occasion should actually increase, in my opinion, than say a traditional Jenny's ice cream. That you have the ability to hit at different moods of the consumer, and that to the franchisee opens up their mind on, okay, we figured out who our customer is and how we can market to it and the frequency of it. Therefore, this is why I want to buy into the business.
Yeah, definitely. And, something interesting about the Tipsy Scoop stores is that the kind of average order size is a little bit different than a traditional ice cream shop. Like, not only are people really gravitating towards these over the top sundaes because every single person is taking a picture of their ice cream, but people are coming in and buying pints and pints for a party that they're having. So I think that is very valuable and good to know, especially as an ice cream shop going into the winter, because you can sell scoops all day to 500 people on a Saturday in the summer, but once the winter comes around, you need those pints and that catering option and that kind of stuff to have it not be so seasonal as well.
Yeah. Well, and kudos to you. I mean, you're thinking through all these processes as well. So to someone that's out there, let's call them a ghost candidate. They've either tried your product, they're a fan of you already, but they never have told you that they're interested in franchising. Or there's someone who's looking at franchising and has landed into your site and they're trying to discover, like, why should I buy into this? What do you want them to know about this franchise opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, so I think that a lot of our potential franchisees are fans of the brand and they have been following for a while. So I think, that's kind of our ideal franchise candidate, because we want them to be passionate about Tipsy Scoop. We don't want them to just be like, oh, booze and ice cream, that's a cool idea. Like, it's so much more than the product and the idea, and really about like the brand and the excitement about even the future for the brand and the future for their store. So I think a lot of people are like, oh, this is a dream job, not only like owning an ice cream store, but owning an ice cream store that also has alcohol in it. It sounds really fun compared to any sort of desk job, but we're really looking for people who are very passionate about the brand and have kind of been tuning in from the beginning. But it's funny, a lot of our potential franchisees are people we've worked with before, whether they be like event planners who have ordered from us for catering, or they have another ice cream shop or bar or restaurant and they've been ordering in Tipsy Scoop. And but yeah, social media and Instagram, TikTok, surprisingly, we had all of our inquiries come from that, basically.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, again, I would I think you're on the right pathway. I think you're thinking of this the right way. I would encourage you constantly go back to the guardrails that you put on.
Yeah.
There'll be a point because you are in a category that can attract a lot of human beings into when it comes to franchising. That the guardrails that you put on to, does this person pass the beer test? Do I see them stepping up if shit hits the fan? Do they carry a personality that I would want to know them in a local community if I didn't? And you start making sure that you're putting those guardrails in place, then your business can go anywhere you want it to go. And that the protection of your business is going to be the most critical element, because I don't foresee you having an issue on awareness of opportunity. It's going to be on who you actually let into your family.
Yeah, definitely. It's hard to well, you got to get to know people.
That's
um,
it.
so yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Well, Melissa, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. I look forward to hearing where the story goes. I look forward to hearing what happens in the next year, because I think there's going to be some great news items that come out of this. So
Yes, we got to change the liquor laws in Atlanta. That's our number one market for inquiries, and we can't do it in Atlanta. So it's funny, our franchisee in DC moved from Atlanta to DC to be able to do this. So
that's
cross one
big news too.
day.
Or you look at other opportunities. I know, like, I'm in Chicago right now. The way that most people get around liquor license in Chicago is you buy an existing business that went under and the license was attached to the unit. And
Yeah.
look, if you look at how many franchise brands actually serve liquor, it's so tremendous that even in some of those markets where it might take a little bit more of a hurdle, like in Atlanta,
Yeah,
there's a pathway. You just have to have someone that's diligent and ready to do it.
for sure.
All right, Melissa, really, again, appreciate your story. Look forward to seeing where things go. This is another episode of Meet the Zor. I'm Nick Powles. Take care, everybody.